So I've come to the end of my week on living on benefits. I was living on job seekers allowance, and once you've taken out all of the bills and other essentials, I had less than £2 a day to live on. One of the reasons that I agreed to do the challenge in the first place was to start to look at some of the what I think are myths surrounding benefits and people who live on benefits. And one of those is that people on benefits live in some kind of luxury, and I found that that absolutely wasn't the case. From my own experience, when you take your shopping basket into the supermarket and realise that most of what's on the shelves is completely outside of your reach, to the discussions that I had with people who were living on benefits every day for weeks and months on end, and they told me that they rarely had any treats for themselves, maybe the very occasional scratch card. I heard how people very rarely buy anything new. It was often a case of things being bought from charity shops or hand-me-downs or borrowed from relatives. The other myth which I wanted to just explore and challenge this week was the myth that people who live on benefits are lazy. And that is absolutely not the case. Actually, what I found was quite the reverse, and that people who I spoke to who were on benefits would dearly love to find work. But there is an issue about making work pay. I spoke to one young mum, and her partner had recently gone into employment, but the family were barely any better off as a result of it. And I spoke to another mum whose partner was on a 0-hour contract, and that meant that the family just couldn't plan ahead financially with any kind of certainty from one day to the next, never mind, for 1 week or month to the next. Listening in on the Community Housing Cymru's helpline for the Your Benefits Are Changing campaign, I found to be a really interesting experience as well, because 25% of their callers seeking financial help from the money advisors are actually in work. And I also heard at the helpline how there's a real stigma now about being on benefits. People are embarrassed for their neighbours to know and so on, and I would suggest that that's probably the outcome of the sustained attack on people on benefits, really, in parts of the media which likes to promote a scrounger mentality. And what I found during the course of this week is it's absolutely not the case, and it's quite the opposite. One of the other things that's become increasingly clear to me over the course of this week is the devastating impact that sanctions can have on an individual, essentially making them destitute overnight and completely pulling the rug from underneath their feet. With regards to specific benefits, one of the other things that I've learned over the course of this week is that yes, we're absolutely right to be concerned about the impact that the move to universal credit will have on vulnerable women, particularly those who are in abusive relationships. When a monthly payment goes to just one individual in the household, that will often still be the man. And when the relationship is an abusive one, it can mean that the woman will be financially disenfranchised on top of everything else. And the impact of financial disenfranchisement means that you're unable to save, perhaps to escape that relationship, because often women in those kinds of situations do save some money to try and get to a point where they are able to leave. One of the most concerning things about welfare reform is just how unprepared many people are for it, and how much confusion there is out there in terms of which benefits are changing, when, how families' finances might be impacted and so on. And this has really been hammered home to me over the course of this week in my discussions with individuals who are living on benefits, and my discussions with people who volunteer at food banks, and sitting in on a money advice line and talking to money advisors as well over the course of the week. There is good advice out there, and I know this because I've been supporting the Your Benefits Are Changing campaign this week, which has a great Facebook page and website and telephone line and text line where you can access the expert advice from money advisors. And I'd absolutely encourage anybody whose benefits may be changing to seek out that kind of advice.